Call to order the special meeting of the City of Aransas Pass City Council, August 10th, 2021, 5:30 p.m. And, okay. Right now. Councilmember Abrego will not at the meeting, okay. Okay. Councilmember Abrego will not be at the meeting today. Her husband, Rudy Abrego, is hospitalized with COVID, and she is with him at the hospital at this time. Okay, now we're gonna go to City Manager, consider and discuss the selection of exterior paint colors for the City Hall building.
I love it.
All right, will I make a motion to revise the previous paint colors to the new Ravishing Coral and Jazz Age Coral?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're gonna go to the discussion item, which is presentation on tax resale process. Steve Salcedo, the Lineberger firm.
This is, you can come on up, Steve. This is a result of a request from the council to get an overview of how the process works. One of the comments you made was citizens don't seem to know and understand, and because we've not given them the information on how that process works in case they want to acquire some of the property. So Steve is going to go through the process with us and explain how that can be accomplished. Steve?
Thank you, City Manager. Thank you, Mayor and City Council members and City staff for having me here tonight. Stephen Salcedo with Lineberger Attorneys at Law. And what we're going to talk about is, yes, the overview of the tax resale process. But before I jump into the tax resale process, let me just state, for the council's familiar with this, but perhaps some others aren't, how we actually get to this process. On July the 1st of every year, the delinquent tax roll is turned over to my law firm to collect. We represent every taxing authority in the area. At that time, if there is a delinquency, we mail out letters, things of that nature. The properties can receive up to 8 notices a year if they're delinquent. They can receive personal phone calls and visits. If all those collection efforts prove fruitless, we can file on July the 1st a lawsuit to foreclose for delinquencies, for tax delinquencies. Once that lawsuit's filed, eventually I will take a judgment. And once a judgment's taken, then I will sell the property on the courthouse steps. For purpose of this discussion, you overlap 2 counties. We have Aransas County and San Patricio County, and the processes there are a little different, but we'll get into that. Once the property once I take a judgment, it's foreclosed upon. We take the judgment. We will sell the property on the courthouse steps. Those sales occur roughly 5 times each year in each county. Sometimes they overlap, sometimes they're different. It just depends on how much property we have. And it's sold on the first Tuesday of every month. And in both counties, we advertise these sales for 3 consecutive weeks. And in Aransas, it's in Aransas County, it's the Rockport Pilot, and here it's the News of San Patricio County. In addition to that, we do advertise on our firm statewide as well, and there's a list of these properties at each tax office. So, if any time, feel free to interrupt me, and I'll be happy to try to answer the question. So we're at the process where I filed a lawsuit. We foreclosed on it. We've gotten a judgment. I'm going to sell it on the courthouse steps. It's been advertised in the paper. At the courthouse steps, it's an auction. It's a public auction. and the property is sold for the lesser of two amounts. It's either sold for the amount of taxes due or the value of the property, whichever is less. So if the taxes are $1,000 and the value is $10,000, the sale will start at $1,000. At that time, it's a competitive bidding process. Anybody who's there can bid, so sometimes the bid will start at $1,000 and end up at $15,000. If there's overages, if there's excess proceeds, those are deposited into the registry of the court, and the owner of that property could possibly petition for them, or any other lien holders who were in the suit, who we cut off all lien holder interest. If somebody was a lien holder to that, they could petition the court as well for those excess proceeds. If nobody petitions the court for the excess proceeds, at the expiration of 2 years, we'll divide those excess proceeds up amongst every taxing authority pro rata to their pro rata share in the judgment, which happens upon occasion. Now,
I have a question.
yes, ma'am.
You said at the end of 2 years. Now, if I buy a property on the courthouse steps and there is no overage, do I still have to wait those 2 years to get clean title of that property?
Okay. So, if you buy a property on the courthouse steps, you won't have title until we file the deed into your name. And generally speaking, that takes a few months until after the sale. We'll just, for purposes of discussion, let's call it 60 days, roughly on average. Once you have, after that, if you're the successful bidder, 60 days later, we're going to put a deed into your name, and you will then be the owner of the property. Now, that's a sheriff's sale deed. A sheriff's sale deed is akin to a quitclaim deed. It's without warranty express or implied. By law, a sheriff's sale deed cuts off anybody's interest in the property who we named in the suit. So if there was a mortgage, had a mortgage lien on there, and we named the company, their interest is wiped out, and you would get the property free and clear. We do run title on these properties. We run it through a title plant to try to catch anybody who might have a lien, and we're pretty good at doing it. But occasionally it falls through the cracks. Sometimes we miss somebody, or there's a lien we didn't see. If we don't name them, that lien survives. So that's a kind of a buyer beware situation. When you buy tax sale properties, buyers need to know that these are sales without warranty, express or implied, and the only type of deed you get is an ordinary type of sheriff's deed, and under law, a sheriff's deed only cuts off the interest of the people named in the suit, if that answers your question.
Yes, it does.
Okay. There is a corollary to that, and I think this is brought up at a couple of our meetings. Local title plants, things of that nature, they have their own in-house rules, whether they will get, if you run into Stewart Title or somebody, whether they'll give you a good title or not. That's really outside my area. I've been told it takes, most recent story I heard, and I don't know if it's true, but generally the local title plants make you wait at least a year before they'll get your title on that. But legally, it's yours. You own it. Once I file that sheriff's sale deal, subject to an owner's right of redemption. Now, when we foreclose on people's property, the owner who we foreclosed upon has a right of redemption. The period, what a right of redemption means is, if I'm a taxpayer and I foreclose on the property, my property gets foreclosed upon because I didn't pay the taxes, and it's ultimately sold to you on the courthouse steps. You own it once I file that sheriff's sale deed of record, but you own it subject to my right of redemption. And that right of redemption has a certain period. If it is your residence homestead, it could be as long as 2 years, or agricultural land. If it's just business property or something else, then it's only 180 days. So during that period, you own it, but you have the possibility that I could come back and redeem it. Now, I have to pay you a premium on top of that. It's 25% over what you paid for the first year, and then goes 50% if it goes into the second year. But that's something you have to consider when you own these properties. So sometimes you don't want to develop a property if somebody's going to come in and redeem it from you. So if in that scenario, you would be holding it for a couple of years before you did anything with it, if you were prudent. And you're only allowed, even if you were to develop it, you would pretty much lose it if they came in and redeemed it. You're only allowed to maintain the property and keep it from degrading. You couldn't put a house on it, and then he comes and redeems the property. Well, you're in trouble. So that is a factor that comes into these scenarios when you're buying these things, that a lot of times people will hold on, there's a disincentive to do anything with it right away until that redemption period expires, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So we're at the tax sale now. In the first case we just talked about, you just bought it, but say nobody buys it. You all are the bidders there. You're not interested in it. Nobody buys the property. At that time, what happens is the property is struck off. That's the term of art. What that means is the county will take ownership as trustee for everybody who's in the suit. So the county will be the trustee for the city and for the school district. And that happens to properties who nobody bids upon. Now, 90% of the properties get sold in your area. So we're dealing with about 10% don't, roughly. These are just rough estimates. So at every tax sale, about 10% of them will be struck off to the county, and the county will hold them as trustee. Those struck off properties, there's a list at both tax offices. So at the Aransas County Tax Office with Vanna Marshall, and then with the San Patricio County Tax Office with Marcy Thermalian. They'll have a list of all the struck off properties. And a lot of the bidders are pretty knowledgeable, and they know to go check those lists periodically. And then at the end of every tax sale, we always say, if something didn't sell today, it's going to go on the tax resale list. And so people will have an opportunity to get that at every tax sale or when they walk into the tax office. Here's where things split the way things are done in each county. In Aransas County, hold on before I go there. So we have now a group of things that didn't sell on the courthouse steps. They're now being held in trust by the county. And there's a list, it's called the tax resale list, and those are those properties. And actually I do have lists for both counties, which if anybody would like a copy, I have 10 of each, so we may have to run off some more if other people would like them. And these are the lists that will be kept at the tax office. The Aransas County list, let's start with Aransas County. They do things differently. Wait, let me see, before I get there. Okay, so we have these lists of properties that have been struck off. At any time, somebody can come in and submit a bid for these lists. If that bid is less than the price on the courthouse steps, the opening bid by law, that's when it requires your authorization. And that's why you see me before you all the time. It's for these resale lists where somebody submitted a bid, and that bid is less than what was advertised at the first initial tax sale. So in the first illustration that I used, we said the initial bid is $1,000. Nobody buys it.
Vanna White. Thank you, ma'am.
That one's the San Patricio list. It also includes the school district. We just keep them both together.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll take all the help I can get. So where was I? So she's handing out both lists. One's the San Patricio County list and one's the Aransas County list. So in the scenario that we illustrated, at the initial tax sale, the price was $1,000. Nobody bought it. It's now struck off and held in trust by the counties. At that time, anybody can submit a bid to purchase these properties that are currently being held in trust. Now, they won't appear on that list until we file the deed of record, and that takes 60 days, like I said. But after that point, they're going to pop up on the list. Anybody in the public can come out and submit a bid at the tax office. we have bidding sheets at the tax office that says exactly what they need to do in order to submit a bid. And it's those bids that I come in before you to get your approval. And now, I only come to you for the San Patricio County bids. I don't come for Aransas, because Aransas has chosen a different path. They don't accept private bids. They only have sales on the courthouse steps. So there's always the minimum bid. And if it doesn't sell, we just resell it at the next tax sale. So they don't offer that opportunity. And that's why you'll never see me here in front of you for something that lies in Aransas County, because it's going to be sold at the courthouse steps, and it's going to be sold for the minimum bid by law. It's San Patricio County that I'm here for, and those are the ones where you get the bids that are less than the initial tax sale. Those are the ones that require your authorization. Now, for purpose of illustration, we have the city, we have the county, and we have the school district. Somebody submits a bid. We always start with you first. That's just the way we've been doing it. Varies by county. So somebody here submits a bid for $500, 50% of what was due, and you accept it. It requires your acceptance, then I'll bring it to the school district, then I'll bring it to the county. At any time along that chain, if anybody gets wind of this and says, hey, I want to bid on that too, then we'll allow them to submit a bid, and we'll have a bid off between whoever's still present. So it's never a done deal until the third one says yes. Once the third entity says yes, then it's over. But at any time before that, we'll be happy to get the bidders together and have a bid off in order for them to decide who wants to be the highest one to present to you. And I've been in front of you a few times when that happens.
Yes, you have.
Yes. I'm trying to think, and so then that would be the end of the process. Once the third taxing authority accepts, then it's finally final. We would then give the successor bidder, we would give them a deed into their name, and it would be the same time length and process I described before. They get filed a record, and they still have the same issues in redemption and all those things. But generally speaking, the redemption period runs when it's first filed into the county's name. So by the time they get it, sometimes already passed, if that makes sense. I think that covers basically it. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer.
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
I know a particular property here in Aransas Pass.
Mhm.
After Hurricane Harvey, there was damage done to the property.
Mhm.
And it was a family home. They couldn't pay the taxes, so they voluntarily gave it to the county.
Mhm.
So that would go for bid on the steps.
Well,
Because she asked me what's going on with it. She hasn't seen anything.
she hasn't seen anything. Okay, so and I don't know the specifics of this case, so generally speaking, a lot of people, I get this, they want to just give the property up. And what I tell them there is, the county seldom just would take a deed to it. You could quit claim it to the county. The county generally doesn't accept it. They would file a revocation of that quit claim. Because if they accept it, they're going to accept it subject to your taxes and everybody else's taxes, and that could be a problem. So probably that's not what happened. Probably what happened in that case would be my guess is we would still proceed with the foreclosure process, and usually most cases are in rem only. What that means is we're only seeking to remove people's property rights. We're not taking a personal judgment if the value is high enough. And so probably that case is still in the works of the lawsuit process, where we're going to file a lawsuit to foreclose the property and cut off their rights, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have a question real quick.
Somebody has-
You want to come up to the podium? You want to come up to the podium, please?
Just a quick question. My name's Hector Rios, 1044 South Commercial. On a bid off, that's kind of like a live auction, you know, 900, 925, 950?
Yes.
Exciting. Okay, thank you.
Usually done by, on those bid offs, it's usually a couple people, it's done by phone.
Oh,
Uh,
No, the live auction is a real bid off.
Right.
When we
Yeah.
people, but when usually we only have a handful of people who want to submit bids through your resale process. But yes, it's live.
Certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Any other questions?
Oh, we got one more.
Somebody else has a question.
Oh.
Quick question. I'm not really interested, but I remember when I was here the first time, Raul Saldivar, 190 East Johnson, a lot of the dilemma was like, we don't know what's going on, right? And there was people that were saying like, hey, if I were able to bid on something for at a low dollar, I'd do it. We had a person up from the city saying, we'd like to move here, we can't afford to live here, kind of thing, right? And so, it sounds like you advertise in the News of San Patricio. I've never heard of that before. I've never seen an HEB, so I don't know, is there a way to get the word out better in different newspapers, or?
The law firm Weinbarger Attorneys at Law, we have every sale in the state listed on our
Yeah.
website.
So maybe just putting that, somehow letting people know there's a connection here
Yeah,
to
we-
like,
I don't know
just so
why
they
we couldn't
know.
put that in our newspaper or something like that.
Yeah, the newsletter, something, and then maybe generate some
Or the
activity to
newsletter.
do that.
I
I don't
could.
know.
But and also, it depends on the entity, but I can always provide you a list of what's going to be on sale to the council prior to the sale.
Yep.
That list is given to the tax office, so if you're ever interested in buying properties, it's always a good idea to go to the tax office and say, hey, what's for sale this month?
Right.
And it changes over time.
Yep. I just think like we didn't have like eyeballs on it, right? And maybe we create a group or something to just sort of police that a little bit. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
We're
Steve.
good,
Thank you.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, now, we're gonna go to Carrie.
Oh, okay. You have to read the item. Read the item.
Okay. We're gonna discuss project and rezoning request for property located at the southwest corner of,
Southeast corner.
southeast
East.
corner of Johnson Avenue and Highway 361, being a 7.861 acre portion of farmland number 3 and all of lot number 2, land block number 48, Burton and Danford subdivision, save and accept an 8,000 square foot tract out of the northeast corner of said farm lot 3.
Great.
All right.
Go ahead, Kurt.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me this time to address a libel Facebook post published on August 8th, approximately 8 p.m. I will address each slanderous concern in the post, starting with my campaign contributions received during last month's election. All of the candidates' donations are published on the city's website for full transparency. The author states in this post that these councilwomen are abusing their seats. None of them should be involved with the voting on this development, talking about the Calypso development. These councilwomen are doing what's best for their pockets. These statements are slanderous and speculative. First of all, the council has not voted on a zoning change requested by the developer. Second, I have stated publicly I am not in favor of the zoning change as presented by the developer to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Third, this author accuses me of taking campaign funds in exchange for a favorable vote for this development. This is libel. This is defamation of character, not only to me, but to my supporters that approve of my choices for Aransas Pass. My integrity and character will stand strong for the planned growth of Aransas Pass. I will not back down and I will not give up. Thank y'all. Thank you.
Okay, now, I'm I'm gonna say this. First, let me say that no action will be taken today on the Calypso Cove rezoning case. Consider an action of the rezoning application is scheduled for September 7, 2021. The purpose today is to hear about the project and receive comments from the audience. The format that we will follow is, first, we will hear from our planning director about the rezoning application. Second, Mr. Trey Summers will provide an overview and update of the project. Then we will hear from the audience. Each person wishing to comment may come up to the podium once and will be given 3 minutes to make their comments. Council members may ask questions and make comments at any time during this discussion. So, Jose?
Good evening. This case has gone through the planning and zoning already. They have voted for recommendation to approve this rezoning application. So I'm going to quote from the staff report that we did for the Planning and Zoning Commission. It starts with the comprehensive plan. I guess you have a copy on that report. It's the section 3.4.2. It reads, Aransas Pass needs more housing of all types. It says one of residents' top priorities is to provide more housing opportunities by creating a greater variety of housing types. Residents want to create housing targeted at first-time home buyers, seniors, workforce housing, subsidized affordable housing, high-end ownership, using a variety of housing typology to meet those demands. Therefore, the city should adopt changes to the zoning code that allow for smaller lots, smaller structures, reduced setbacks, and slightly higher impervious cover limits in most residential zoning categories. Therefore, the zoning districts of R10 single-family dwelling is inconsistent and inappropriate with the current development growth edge of the city. The natural expansion of the city's development will be mostly along the arteries such as Commercial, Wheeler, and the County Road 1069. The anticipated periphery development of such intermediate size lots of R10 are no more appropriate for this location. That is when it was designated. Therefore, we, the staff, recommend that the original zoning classification of R10 zoning district given to the property was inappropriate or improper, and the proposed PD district for the said property is proper and appropriate. Finally, that there have been major changes of economic, physical, and social nature within the area involved, which were not anticipated in the comprehensive plan and which have substantially altered the basic character of the area. Thank you. You have any questions for now? No? Okay.
Sure.
My name is Carol Salinas. I'm a resident of Aransas Pass. I'm also a member of the Planning and Zoning. And what Mr. Osei said is correct, other than not every member voted in favor of this project. It made it, in my opinion, sound like it was a unanimous decision, and it was not. Thank you.
Would this be citywide, or is this going to be, this zoning will change only that particular area, that little section of land? Or would this apply citywide So if somebody else wanted to build these smaller tract homes somewhere else besides this proposed area, will they still fall into this where they can build smaller homes in a different area other than this proposed area?
Okay, can I answer? This particular workshop is for this particular project. If any rezoning application comes in, we will look at it case by case basis and based on the comprehensive plan and the zoning ordinance. Okay, good?
But, you know, on the other hand of that, you know, that could open up a can of worms.
Exactly.
Yeah, for just about anybody else, because
Yep.
I might, you know, that's a good idea. I like the smaller tract homes for first-time buyers and all that. But I'm kind of wanting to do it citywide if you're going to do
No,
something like
no.
that, give other places.
No, it's not going to open a can of worms.
It could. I don't
No.
see how you could think that it might not.
It will not, because every zoning district is different. And so we look at the base zoning of that particular area, whether there has been any change that what we anticipated that development should go has changed drastically, and that the new or proposed zoning of the request from the applicant is proper, that we need to change. That's how we look at it.
Sure, of course, you know, there's a process, of course,
Yeah.
to everything, but I said, I think
So
that is a platform, though, for cans of worms.
No, because if you look at the zoning ordinance, it allows for a request for zoning change. But it's not automatic that if an applicant comes in, we are not going to review it technically and we just approve it, if that's your question.
Yeah, that was kind of, yeah. If
Yeah,
you
so-
approve it in other areas, yeah.
So we will look
Yes,
at
sir.
it critically. If you're asking whether every application that comes in, we will approve it, no. We do review, technical review, and figure out whether that new request for a zoning change will be appropriate for new development in a good area, yes. That's what
And
we're
there's
looking
already a platform to the criteria for this my proposed area over here. There's already a criteria that this area's got to meet, and y'all have already got that criteria somewhere written down that follows along with what this particular developer is wanting to do. So once this basically what I'm saying, once this developer comes in and we lay all the guidelines on, hey, this is how we're gonna do this now, all right? Is my area gonna have a list, y'all gonna have something in place where, okay, this area can do it, this area can do it, and this area can do it.
Let me say this, that when it comes to rezoning, it is not just the technical review of staff. It goes before Planning and Zoning Commission. We provide the technical review for them to look at. Like this one, it was voted on. Not every member on the commission voted yes for it. Majority of the members voted yes for it. So it passes at the Planning and Zoning Commission. Sometimes it's possible our technical review can be overridden by the Planning and Zoning Commission and even the City Council. So it's not about a kind of worms where if we set this up, it means everybody can follow that.
Sure.
It can change based on, technical review.
And my main concern wouldn't be new developers. I'm, talking more as persons here in Aransas Pass that have some lots,
Mhm.
couldn't build this, they couldn't build this house on it because that was too small, or they didn't have enough property to do this. Is there gonna be any kind of leeway that we can go ahead, oh, you didn't have enough property, or less property, okay, now you can build one of these smaller homes on here, since you were denied, you didn't have enough square footage on your lot.
There are,
That's where I'm kind of leaning out. Are we
Yeah.
gonna have exceptions for people that already own property, maybe lots that they've wanted to build houses on all their lives? Are we gonna have something in place to where, okay, now they can go ahead and build their smaller home,
yeah.
other than just one development?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, every
And that would be
application.
something we just come in front of y'all to do.
Every-
Y'all think y'all could see, you understand where I'm
We
coming
do
from?
that already,
You did?
Yeah.
Hector. There have
Okay.
been several people that have had lots, and we have approved, after P and Z has approved it, that we have said, yes, go ahead and build that, and it has to meet certain standards and certain setbacks. But yes, we
Setbacks,
have.
yeah.
That's why you see a lot of smaller homes going into the city of Aransas Pass.
Thank you. One more, I'm sorry. What, are these gonna be, available for vacation rental, short-term rentals?
We don't have a clue.
No, no,
We
we'll
don't
fix
even-
it.
we
here.
haven't
Well,
even-
what's,
we haven't
is, do you,
even voted on it yet.
oh, yeah, but do we know if that's on the zoning? Oh, okay, the gentleman's gonna address something like that?
He's gonna
Okay.
give the presentation and then we'll know.
Anybody else? Well, if
Trey?
not, I have some things to say,
Right
okay?
now, right now?
Well, yeah, I've been thinking about this for the last several days and where we all are, and this has been put to, 3 times, I think this is on the thing. Aransas Pass has very little property available for development, except for 1 and 2 lots here and 1 and 2 lots there. There's no real acreage other than out on the bypass right now and on areas that we have recently gotten. Why? Because Aransas Pass never had a master plan. Never had a master plan until a couple of years ago when we spent the money to develop a master plan. And a master plan is a living document, okay? It's similar to your house plans. It shows how to grow and how to build. Without that master plan, Aransas Pass has let anyone and anything build wherever. For instance, we have a record yard right next door to a brand-new home on Commercial in downtown Aransas Pass. Not what we would ever accept in the future, okay? Trey Summers and I have expressed interest in that property. When Trey Summers expressed interest in that property, the council was on board. We weren't really sure what he was going to present, but Aransas Pass is in desperate need of homes. And the proof of that is today. I went to the ribbon cutting of Coastal Bend Crossing Apartments on Wheeler. The brand new apartments sold out already with a waiting list. There are no homes, there is no affordable homes. Trey and I have had many conversations, and he can agree to this, over this proposed project, and I, like so many of you, expressed my concerns over the density of this property. He asked me to head to Rockport and see Hal Jones' new property, which I did. And if you reach out one window and the neighbor reaches out the other, they can shake hands. He assured me his lots were much more spacious as well as his homes. Drainage problems have been addressed, and so has the traffic problems. Most of us are afraid it'll turn out like another Harbor Heights, which was built to our standards. Yes, roads are narrow, lots are narrow, but they sold out again and again and again to the working class and to the many families who have children in our school district. The city, especially the MDD board, is about to invest almost $2 million on the Little League fields, the basketball courts, the new pavilion, all for the youth of attracting and maintaining our families in this community. I have personally spoken to several families looking to purchase a home here that have kids at APISD. None, and I'm going to repeat, none had any concerns over being stilted homes, but they were in fact really excited that it would be a family neighborhood next to the ball fields and next to the aquatic centers, so that their kids can use those. We as a council do not have the right to dictate what has to be built, but rather work with the developers to make it a place for all our citizens to be proud of and to have everyone in this community live together. Hogan Homes has been a leader and a great partner in the housing development here in Aransas Pass, and I believe we should be working with them to make Calypso Bay an incredible neighborhood for families and out-of-towners who love Aransas Pass and want to live here, whether it be full-time or part-time. Those were my thoughts.
Richard Peters, 170 East Johnson. I guess my first comment is, we've had a number of meetings on this, and you made a statement that the drainage and traffic has been addressed. I have not heard one word where anybody has really addressed that and come up with a solution and said, this is how this is gonna be fixed, this is how it's gonna work. It's not an issue. You made that statement. I haven't heard that yet and haven't seen it. We've asked for information about that and have not received any information on how drainage or traffic would be addressed.
Okay, can we go ahead and hear, Chris? I should have gone straight, or,
Yes, we
Trey.
should have let Trey
I should
speak
have, I should have
first.
gone straight to
Well,
Trey, that way he
I
can
was
give
just
that.
addressing her statement, you know,
Right.
because she made statements
Right,
that we have not addressed, okay? So
yes,
at this point,
yes, yes.
Showing up. No, let me let Trey Summers go ahead and do his little presentation, and then we'll follow up on it, okay? You can go ahead, Trey.
Can you hear us?
Hello?
Can you hear us?
Unmute your mic, Trey. Move your mouse to see the mic. Red.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes,
Are y'all there?
yes?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah, we're muted.
Turn your camera on.
Gary, can y'all hear me?
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, I cannot hear y'all back. I'm having to tune into the YouTube live stream in order to hear back through the Google Meeting, so.
You're fixed now, go ahead.
Okay, there we go. All righty. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I apologize for not being able to be there in person, and I do appreciate y'all working with me to do this virtually. I just wanted to go over a couple things, and Councilman Moore hit on it. Yes, we've been in this community for years now. It hasn't just been Harbor Heights. We did have the development there across from the high school, and that neighborhood has consistently looked, beautiful since the day we built there, and that's been 15 years ago. A little bit, kind of touching base, I did come to council back on November 12th at an executive session where I presented the plan to y'all. And with the exception of Councilman Knight, who was not on the council at the time, everybody seemed to be excited about it. The only thing that had changed at that time, or since then, since I proposed the layout, was that, now I own the land, and also that the fire department had requested a second access point. Other than that, everything had stayed the same. We've consistently been with the landscape buffers, the right-of-ways, the size of the lots, nothing has changed. The PUD was approved on June 14th, and Commissioner Salinas was right, it was not unanimous, however, it was majority. And then staff has repeatedly recommended this project to be approved. And, as a developer, as a businessman, we go in and we look at the comprehensive plan, and y'all's comprehensive plan specifically lays out a path forward for Aransas Pass to grow and develop. And so we took that plan, and that went into our decisions to, go after this project, look at this piece of property, and see how we can make something work here. Yes, only change it from different property to different property based on your water infrastructure, your sewer infrastructure, drainage, all of that's taken into account. My engineer can provide that. So we look at all of that. Staff looks at all that to make sure that everything goes in, everything meets the, I don't want to say the standard, but it meets the ability for that project to be developed the way we presented. So after we met at the executive session, we looked at that comprehensive plan. As Say touched on it, this is what the citizens for Aransas Pass want. They want different types of housing. They want more housing. The only way you get to, in this day and age, is to do a different type. You can't have R10s. R7s are even not done very often. And it's because all of the costs, you have material costs in your development with water, sewer, storm sewer infrastructure, you've got land costs, that's constantly going up, you've got material costs, lumber over 300%. At some point you have to do what's affordable for your residents and for future people that would like to move to whatever community you're trying to develop. So really, really nothing has changed. We did take the neighbors' concerns about traffic. we did look into TxDOT. We are able to do an access point on with the minimum distance required, which is 305 feet from the edge of the concrete. So we would be able to do a entrance off of 361. TxDOT still has to approve that because of the site distance. We do have that curve there. Fortunately, it is only 40 miles an hour there, so that should, TxDOT should look at that as being able to be approved, but it's not 100% approved by TxDOT. So really, in order for us to move forward, we need yes or we need no's. We've been to several council meetings, we've had staff approval, we've had P&T, and, we're back here, and so it's kind of, where do we go from here? We've tried to be compassionate with the neighbors. We've looked at drainage, we've looked at water, we've looked at sanitary sewer. All of that works for this project. If council doesn't want it, we need to know so that we can adjust. If council would like it, then we need a yes. If there's something that's conditional upon approval, let us know so that we can make our adjustments. But we're just sitting here kind of spinning our tires, and we really need feedback from y'all. Y'all are the ones that ultimately approve this, and we hope that y'all approve it based on the comprehensive plan that the city has spent money on to figure out how to grow. So, I'm here today to listen to y'all. This was at the request of the neighbors, so we're here to take notes, and if council wants to see something different, we need to know so that we can adjust. And I'm not saying that just by adjusting means that this project can continue to go forward. There's a limit to what we can do, and so we'll try to work within the best of the parameters, but we just need further clarity from council.
Okay. Go ahead and come up.
So you're gonna allow 3 minutes, Mayor? Is that 3 minutes?
I'm a Daniel May, 162 East Johnson Avenue. Yeah, I'll make mine short here, and I'll be careful not to repeat previous messages. Kerry, I do want to say I apologize for the outburst on social media to you personally. We all, our whole neighborhood, we very much apologize for what you had to go through with that, okay?
Thank you very much.
I just would like to say that, Jan, I have to respectfully take opposition to you.
That's okay.
You said that your responsibility is very limited in this. You are a major stakeholder in this. Let me finish, please. You have a vote on this city council that's extremely important to everyone out here in this audience, ma'am. I didn't take that very well. I'm going to show an example. I've got a copy here of the summary of coastal construction requirements and recommendations. Okay? It's about 8 pages. It's put out by FEMA, and I have to refer to it on occasion in my occupation. It's very strict standards of when you're in a flood zone, some of the building construction techniques that have to be in place for what reasons. So the city can be reimbursed during a flood event. So citizens that have property damage can apply for SBA loan. FEMA will not extend claim money for reimbursement if cities do not comply with NFIP standards. And I know Trey has to be familiar with this if he's done some flood zone coastal building. It's important that whatever is built, whatever size lot, that we adhere to these FEMA NFIP guidelines. We have to. We have to. Now, with that being said, Jan, I listened to every word you said. You said all these families, they want to go get a loan. They want to move in those houses. I'm just telling you that the loan institutions are very hesitant on loaning money to new young couples with probably very low credit ratings in that flood zone. Rudy here tried to get a loan when they first came. Oh, we do not loan money in those type flood zones. So Jan, what we've done, we've eliminated that new industry worker that's got a young family and he wants to buy something, and all they can find is the stilt house. He can't go get a loan, okay? I'm all for new housing in Aransas Pass. I am. I see the need myself. I want every young couple that's able to be able to come in and get a home. I just do not feel that that piece of property that is the prime waterfront location that we had in Aransas Pass is the ideal location for max index stilt home, 1,200 square foot. It's just about the size of Carrie's living room, is what a little family of four will want, Jim. And what I'm afraid, Trey's gonna develop it, realtors are gonna sell it. Here comes San Antonio, big money. Here comes Houston, big money. Have we satisfied those workers that need a family housing? No, we haven't. What we've done, I'm just gonna be very frank, we've sold out to outside interest, okay? That's my opinion. I think we can do better in that area. And Trey, I know we're in opposition, but you know, if that's all you're gonna offer is maybe some additional this and that, then I think we're very far away. So I'm like you. Let's put it for council. We need to see where our council members are gonna lie on this. And I'm gonna just be real frank, we're gonna see if it lies with outside interest or local residents that need a place to live. And I want the vote to happen myself. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. May, let me respond to you. I think you took my statement and maybe it was said incorrectly, but we can't tell Trey, okay, Trey, we want these kind of houses in this property right now for when he comes in. We try to work with them, okay? We try to work with him, and that's what we approve after we see what his plans are, whether we feel it's gonna fit with the city and the master plan. Not that we can dictate what he has to build there. That's what I meant by that. We can't dictate to him what can build. We can deny it, we can approve it.
I hear what you're saying, Jim.
So, and I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. I wish the same thing was over at Rockport. Trey's building bigger homes on bigger lots over there. I just don't understand why it has to be different for Aransas Pass. Thank you for your time.
No, me neither. Sure.
I'm Kelly Waldoni. I live at 2009 West Wheeler. 2 questions. What is the starting price point for these homes?
Let Mr. Trey Summers answer that, please. Trey?
What is the starting price on the houses?
Yeah, sorry, I was taking myself off of mute. You know, I've said it several times, you know, we're looking at 250, but I will add that the city cannot make a decision based on zoning, based on the value of a house. If it's an R10.
I didn't ask that question. I just asked the price point.
You know, it could be
I only have 3 minutes, so can I finish? I have another question. That was the answer.
Well, he's
250 was the start. Where is the second entrance gonna be that you're planning? Is it gonna be next to the entrance or the exit? Are they gonna be right by each other? Are they gonna be on opposite ends of the development? And that's all I have.
According to the fire code, it will have to be in a different location. So there will still have to be some sort of access off of Johnson, however this property gets developed. We were eliminating the main entrance off of Johnson at the request of the concerns of the homeowners across the street. We looked at doing it on 361. That is a feasible idea. You still need TxDOT approval. However, the fire code would require that we need one off of Johnson as well. So I can't argue with the fire code.
Hello, Trey, how you doing? Would these particular homes be available for vacation rental? Short-term rentals?
We do not have anything restricting that, but I can't, being that we don't have anything restricting that, I can't limit to what somebody does with the home. Just like if somebody wants to go buy any home in any town and it is in the appropriate zoning, then, they have the ability to do what they want to do. It's private property rights.
Thank you. Thank you. And I totally agree with the gentleman about the bigger homes. I think would make Aransas Pass so much more beautiful. If we want to compete with just want to keep up with the Joneses, then we really need to go ahead and keep up with them. Let's not try to just do whatever we can do just to try to keep up. I say we make bigger houses, nicer houses. A beginner home at 250 is that's a little high. That's getting up there a tad bit. With that being said, and I have empathy. I totally agree with Aransas Pass. I don't think we should settle. I think we should just keep on going, trying to do as much as we possibly can, and I think the bigger homes would be nicer. On the other hand, with me owning a business with the smaller homes, and if they become a vacation rental, any growth here in Aransas Pass is good. And y'all have heard me say it before, and I'm going to go ahead and say it again. I want their money. I want all their money. All them vacationers, I want all their money. I want their food money, their lodging money, and me, I want their entertainment money. So for me, I'm all excited about it. Any growth is going to be good for us because that's what we got to do. The money that I make from these persons goes to the most important people in my life, my God, my family, and then 8.25 of every sales tax that I get from each purchase goes back to my people here in Aransas Pass. So these are the most important people in my life. So like I said, on the other hand, business, yeah, I want it, bring it. It won't affect me either way. But I did want to go ahead and at least voice something that the larger homes would be nicer, and if we could set up a little bit better format for people within the city that have these lots, that want to have these smaller homes, a little bit easier format to follow, okay, this is what you do. You get on the website, you go to this page where they can easily go ahead and start working on doing this themselves, as they probably will not be contractors, and probably we'd only be able to afford contractors to a point. Come up, do this, I'm going to do the painting. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So if there could be a much easier process for the smaller homes to be built by private citizens that do own lots, but then on the other hand, like I says, I like them because they're going to bring in the tourist, and that's where I make my money. So I'm kind of on a double-edged sword here, but I like the business part of it because, I want their money. Right on cue. Thank you for your time.
Just a couple comments. I'm not sure the drainage issue is addressed really by what Trey said. It still, to me, is an open question. Traffic moving the one main entrance of 361, if that is actually the main entrance and it's used that way,
But I believe he should have a drainage study.
Okay.
That has to come up.
Yeah, but we don't have it yet. That's what I'm saying. So we've been encouraging that information to come forward. This drainage
He definitely has to have it.
Processed properly. Just a couple things. I don't want to beat it to death. Stilt homes, to me, are not homes that are really suitable for children or families. The likelihood of a family coming in with a couple kids and having kids walking up and down steps to a stilt home probably isn't, it's not really going to happen. I think we're really looking at vacation rentals and things of that nature, as Dan said. The other thing is, just at the planning meeting last night, there's a proposal for 178 homes, another rezoning for 178 homes. So I don't think there's really a shortage of planning for homes to be built in the city. This is 178 homes. I can't remember the number of acres. Big development, but 178 homes versus the 48 here. So that gets approved. You don't know about it yet because they didn't approve it yet at the zoning meeting yesterday, but you'll probably see it in some shape or form here shortly. We've got more homes coming. You know, so there's not a shortage of property, I don't believe, to build homes in this area. It's a matter of somebody just taking hold and you know, making it happen. So I don't think the property is really the issue, it's just a matter of somebody really making it happen. So I still don't see this as being the panacea of, you know, solving the city's housing problems. I just don't see it. It's a prime area. It's a great area. When people come into the city for shrimpery and things like that, it needs to be a showcase. It needs to be somewhere where people drive down the streets and they say, boy, this is Aransas Pass, what a neat city, you know. Instead of something with just a lot of little crackerback houses and people thinking, well, it's a little town that we're just shoving a lot of people in and yada, yada, yada.
I totally agree with you. That's exactly how I feel about that property out there.
Okay, I appreciate that. And Carrie, you know, it wasn't any of us in the neighborhood that sent that. thing
Oh,
out,
I
you know,
absolutely
so-
understand
and,
that.
And we were all kind of in shock, and internally we were sending messages to each other. She doesn't have it, you know, so I apologize for that also.
Thank you.
Okay. Questions? Thank you.
Trey, I did have a question for you, Trey. Did you happen to see, I think I've seen a copy of the neighborhood's revised plan, I guess, something that they drew up where the home sites were, or lots, I should say, maybe were bigger around the perimeter with the opening on 361. Did you see that revision? And what was your opinion on that?
Well, so we took that revision and we went to TxDOT. Fortunately, due to the speed limit, we didn't have to go the 400 feet. That would have put the entrance in that natural undisturbed area there. But we only had to go 305 feet as a minimum. So we were able to get that entrance roughly about 315 feet, which puts it about 2/3 of the way from Johnson to that undisturbed area. I do want to address, you know, the zoning standards of Aransas Pass. Both the R10 and the R7, the minimum dwelling size for a for finished floor or living area is 1,000 square feet. Whether you're on a 10,000 square foot lot or a 7,000 square foot lot, our average home size in this project would be right at 1,300 square feet. So whether I do an R10 or an R7 or I do this, I'm actually building a bigger house than what the minimum standard is for an R10 at this moment. You know, we've gone in, we've done a landscape buffer. We want to make the exterior of this project beautiful. We want people to come to Aransas Pass and see that. And with regards to still housing, that's the only type of housing that can be built on in this area. Any housing that's slab on grade in this area would not be able to be built today because of the flood zone standards. So everything in this area has to be built on stilts. Unless you build up the property, and Ray would have to help you with that, but probably 10 feet would have to be built up in order to get it out of the flood zone to do slab on grade. So yes, still housing isn't for everybody, but that's the only housing that's possible for this area.
Yeah, I agree with you on that point, but what about, I don't think anyone's concerned with the 1,300 square feet. I think it's more of the size of the lot is where more of the concern is. When you talk to TxDOT, I think another alleviation there would be a red light. I think if a red light or a stop light, whatever you want to call it, was put in at that intersection, then traffic would be coming to a stop anyway. It would be slowing down.
Yes, and when we discussed that, I think the police chief alluded to that at the last meeting, that there hasn't been a traffic study done by TxDOT that justifies the need for a red light there on Johnson and Commercial. having an increased traffic that would access through the neighborhood could justify TxDOT putting in a red light there. Now, if we move that entrance to 361, those people will not be accessing through Johnson. So that could be a conversation that needs to be had with TxDOT, but as of right now, they haven't seen a need for that stoplight there.
Well, we as neighbors on that street certainly see a need for a red light there.
I can't argue with you on that. I mean, it would be, the next traffic signal is on DeBerry, I believe.
Yes.
That's one moving town. But TxDOT has their own set of guidelines, and Johnson and Commercial has not met that.
Right.
To my knowledge.
So I did speak with Robert Isasi after we last discussed it again, and it was already being brought up again from another mentioning. But Robert did assure me that he would put it on his list and consider the potential that there is development possibly going to be going in on that area, because that could change that need and change their original assessment that said there was no need.
Okay, good. Good.
Anybody else?
I have a question for Melinda, and it refers back to what I believe Mr. Peters said about mortgaging, people getting mortgages on property that's in flood zones.
Mr. May.
I'm Melinda Williams with Citizen of Aransas Pass, and I own Why Not Getaway Vacation Rentals, and I have Williams Realty Group, and I'm a proud realtor for the city of Aransas Pass. Thank you, Jan. I have seen where the lenders are tougher when they get that, just because of everything all involved with the housing and the new, but I'm seeing more new personally, and I'm hearing it around in the industry as well. I'm seeing more new home buyers, first-time home buyers, and they, with the cost of living going up, the cost of everything going up, the lenders are being more, they're making them jump through hoops, and it takes longer for them to get pre-approved. And the difference between pre-qualification and pre-approval is you can call up and say, Lender Gomez, I need a loan. Well, do you have a checking account? Do you have a job? Do you have a savings account? If yes to all those numbers, you're pre-qualified, come on and see me. Pre-approval is where you have to provide a minimum of 6 identifying verifications of income, and you have to have a certain credit score. Now, some of the Fannie Mae's and that type of thing out there, and also the FHA programs and the VA programs, there's a lot of money in there. They've even loosened up where the VA's actually, and the FHA's actually giving second home loans. You just have to pay a higher down. There's investment property. There's all different kinds of variables. I've never seen so many different packages out there for a first-time home buyer as well. So I can understand where the gentleman is coming from with that. And they have, but in the flood zone specifically, it's a little bit tougher. They have to pay a certain premium with insurance. Lenders aren't telling them just, let me take that back because I base it off of fact. There are lenders out there that are not as established and don't have the investors behind them that are telling them flat no. However, there are established lenders out there and mortgage lenders and that type of thing that are working with the public because they understand that you're going to have a flood zone. And if they want to do business with those people, they have to figure out a way around that. So they're partnering with insurance companies. And I've actually aligned myself with several insurance companies, so I have the tools to be able to provide, and several lenders. I don't just barter with one. And so he's correct that there are a lot of lenders out there that are saying flat no, but there are also some lenders out there that are saying heck yes. So that's just from my personal experience and industry talk and the numbers going up with first-time home buyers. So, did I answer your question?
It doesn't, I don't think it answers the question at all. I think we need to know like the cost, right? So if I do get a mortgage, say $50,000 what will be the flood, what will be the premium on the TWIA, that kind of thing, right?
Okay,
And USAA, which is not a small vendor, will not do it. So, because it's too risky for them, they won't make it.
And that's one out of many, but I am not qualified.
But can't you get, you have the context of the insurance companies,
Rudy.
can't you get a quote for it?
Absolutely, you can, absolutely.
Rudy.
Great question.
Rudy, you want to come up here if you want to speak, please?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm not
Yeah, I'm
qualified
sorry.
to answer that.
I would just say that let's get a mock, quote, like I go buy a house for $250,000, 2.75 interest rate, here's my mortgage payment. What is TWIA onto that? That's another $1,700 a month, right, potentially. And then the floodplain, because we're in a VE zone, and what my neighbor Dan said was like, hey, there are requirements at FEMA. I don't think they're binding, but they're like, if you want to get reimbursed in the next hurricane, you better play ball. My neighbor, George Mendez at 190 East Johnson, he does live in San Antonio. This is his vacation house. It blew down, right? And when he had to rebuild, they made him rebuild on stilts. So we know it's a pretty tough area.
Mhm.
You know,
Not
so
all of that is zone VE though.
it's right through the middle.
Right, right, but I do have the zoning maps too, I know you guys do for sure. But,
Sure, you'll be the last one.
Well, the one question.
Yep. You'll be the last one.
okay, thank you. I like your shirt, by the way. We
I don't want to keep going on.
I just think I had an answer to
want no
the
more
question, Jan, that Stephen Jones, who lives on the end of Johnson Avenue.
I know.
He's the only one on our block that I know that has flood insurance. And he told me directly it was $6,000 per year, so that'd be about
Pretty expensive.
$400 to $500 per month. So anyway, that's what it runs.
Yeah, he's got a deal too. Because
Sure,
now
Carol.
it's not.
And I'm just right up the road, and I still carry my flood insurance, and I've never flooded. That house didn't flood during Elliott, didn't flood during Harvey, but I am not gonna let that flood insurance go. I don't care how much it costs in
Carol
that area.
Salinas, resident of Aransas Pass. I know this is a rezoning request. It's not the planning, it's not the actual housing
Right.
at this time. But one of the things I think needs to be addressed is the street width. I know we've got certain street widths that are supposedly legal by the fire department, but if you do not have, and the driveways I've not heard mentioned, we have an ordinance that says the driveway must be at least 20 feet long. At the time that was done, I thought that was too short. If you do not have a driveway of sufficient length, and these people all start parking in the street on both sides, when the fire department starts going to a call, then, you know, is zigzagging in and out. And I just think in the planning of this development, if it goes through, they need to consider, the city needs to consider wider streets. Thank you.
What meeting is this gonna be on? The September 7th meeting? September 2nd? Is that what it is?
September 7th.
Seven.
All right, so that's all I want to say to y'all guys. I'm with y'all. This thing has been tabled to death, and I think we just need to get the show on the road and get this thing to a vote and get it off the table.
May I touch on a couple things real quick before we wrap up?
Sure.
Absolutely.
The neighborhood, the land that the project is proposed is not in the zone DE. It is in zone AE. And insurance requirements do look at still housing differently than slab on grade. If there was a slab on grade house in this, they probably would not be able to get insurance. If they did, it'd be very, very expensive. Additionally, we would not be able to build any new structures, slab on grade there. With regards to the streets, you did talk to the fire marshal about streets. The neighborhood is proposed to be gated, so that will eliminate traffic that is not supposed to be in the neighborhood. Additionally, with the way that the parking is, there's really no on-street parking as an option. There's no space for that. So everybody will be parking in their driveways or utilizing the off-street parking spots that are designated, and I think there were 15 of them on the plan that we presented. So overflow parking is there. I think, Ray, we were looking at 6 spots basically per house, 4 underneath the house and 2 more in the driveway. So there's ample parking, and if there's no on-street parking allowed, there's plenty of room for the fire and EMS to get through.
Anybody else? We're good.
I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll second.
What was the motion?
Adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.